Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Ernie.
And I'm Erin, and this is Budget Nerds.
Who is all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, we have Erin back in the studio. I guess you call it the studio. I don't know. But, yeah.
Thanks for letting
back,
me
Erin.
elbow my way back in, because I kind of begged to come back on.
Erin did ask. Well, she had an idea, and she's like, "I need to talk." So here we are.
It's always good to talk to you guys when I have an idea. So.
Yeah, you wrote in on our Slack channel, and you were like, "What did you say exactly?" You were like,
"Let me read it. I have it. I have
Ernie's
it pulled
ready.
up
Okay.
right here."
I hope it's not embarrassing.
No, not at all. I would like to invite myself back on Budget Nerds, please, to do an episode on you can do big things.
Yes.
And when Erin speaks, we listen. So
Well,
if you
it's
don't
good to
know,
know.
wait, and for real though, I mean, Erin's the lead educator here, the OG workshop teacher, and has these amazing ideas, right? Something gets going in Erin's brain. A lot of times Erin shares that with us in Slack. And so when Erin posted this in Budget Nerd, Ben and I were like, yeah, we got to make this episode work.
Yes, it's always yes. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
kind.
Erin, I think you came up with Budget. Like this was your idea. Like this wouldn't exist without you. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I think there were a group of us talking about it. I think
Ashley.
Yeah,
This
you
is
gotta
the
give
quote.
Ashley credit.
Yeah, I think it was it was her and it was Hannah on YouTube, and I think the term she used was she needed some male energy on the YouTube channel. And now it's like more men than women, but anyways.
But when I became
so she wanted something.
Because when I came on to marketing as a workshop teacher, Erin, the first thing you told me was you need to do something else besides teach workshops. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt out. So let's talk about a possible podcast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Budget Nerds came out of that. We're like, let's experiment. And here we are.
It was
almost
meant to be.
100 episodes
I'm pretty sure
later.
you came up with the name too, Erin. I'm not
know.
sure,
Well,
but we'll just say
happy.
you did everything.
I'm just so happy that you guys are still doing it, because that feels like such a long time ago.
It
you
had-
know?
it's been almost
it
3
was.
years.
So great.
Is it 3 years or 4 years? I think it's 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Feels like a lifetime ago, but
I know, right? It's weird.
now you're all grown up.
Well, it's like the time goes by. I feel
Kind
like
of.
it goes by so fast. But then when I think back, I'm like,
Yeah.
that was so long ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. Anyways, no more reminiscing. Stop it.
Okay.
So
It's all
welcome
good.
back for the third time. First time we had
Yeah.
you on the show, you were talking about a kitchen renovation
Yep.
that you
That's
did. And then
done.
we
Thank God.
had you on to talk about when you paid off your mortgage.
Yeah, that was just a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about doing big things. So
Yeah, I've been kind of fired up
what's
about
going on in
this.
your brain here?
Yeah, we're just gonna
I've been
listen
kind
to you
of fired
and
up
react.
about this, because I feel like sometimes we have people that come in to YNAB, to kind of solve some financial pain. They want to make sure that their ducks are in a row, they can pay their bills. And then they get really excited when we teach them about, setting money aside for non-monthly expenses so that you can even out that roller coaster. But I feel like sometimes people stop there. And to me, like, you get that stuff out of the way so that you can do the next thing. And I think one of the biggest things that YNAB has done for me is taught me that I can do more than I ever imagined I could do with my money. When I think back to the beginning, I was just like, I got to get rid of this credit card. But now look at all these things I've been able to do that I would never have told you. Gosh, it's been 18 years I've been using YNAB. So I would never have told you then that I would have paid off a mortgage early or paid cash for a car, So I just think that, and I've been thinking a lot about like why that happens to people. Why do we get so stuck with certain boundaries of what we think we're capable of? So I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about that today.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's interesting because a lot of people come to YNAB with a pain point, or maybe not a pain point, but like some big life change, like they got married or they had a baby or got divorced or something changed in their life and they're really focused on that. Mm-hmm. And once you get through it, it's kind of like, well, now what?
Yeah. And I think it's really that we could say pain points is one way of saying it, but I really think people come because something feels misaligned.
Yeah.
Something isn't aligned, and I need to get everything back aligned again. Whatever that might be.
Yeah. I think that's a good way.
And I do want to say too that just like, because I want to be mindful of the fact that I can do big things now, but when I started, the size of the big things was smaller. And so, if you're in a situation where you're at kind of at the beginning of your journey, it's okay to right size those big things. For me back then, a big thing was getting a $1,000 emergency fund saved up. That was huge at the time, and it took me a while to do it. That was a big thing. So today I have a much bigger emergency fund, but that took time. So don't beat yourself up on the amounts. It's really about if your boundary is here, can you make it be here? Can you climb outside of your comfort zone into more bigger dreams? Yeah.
Those incremental, consistent changes over time.
Yes.
That's where it's at. I mean, when I came to YNAB, Christy and I were saving for an adoption, and we wanted to get out of debt.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, a big thing.
Two big things.
And we noticed things are misaligned with financially and wanted to get back on track. And I remember thinking when I was introduced to the rules, great, 1 through 3, perfect. Rule 4, there's no way I can be a month ahead.
I had the same effect. Same thing, Ernie. It said the same thing to me.
Or paying for a car in cash. I'm like, no way, that just can't happen. Like my big thing was like a $200 to $300 medical bill. Knock that thing out. And then it was like the $1,000 credit card bill. And I just... looking back, the big thing kept getting a little bit bigger over time once I tackled it.
That's it. That's exactly it. And that's why you can't see it in the beginning. You can't see step 20 when you're on step 1.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's why I say it should be a little bit incremental, Then the other thing I would say is that sometimes when people say, "Oh, I can't increase the size of my dreams. I can't think bigger." It's because they haven't done all the math. So sometimes people are just looking at income. But one thing about YNAB is it gave me insight into my spending. And once I had both parts of the equation, then I was like, oh, I actually have a little bit more margin than I thought I did. Right. And then once I had all the information, then I was able to dream a little bit bigger. So,
yeah, we were talking before, I think it's, a lot of people see, my income's less than average or it's low. And you say I can't do anything. But, and that could be true. Like, you could be I need to make more money, in order to to accomplish some things. And that's true. Yeah. But it also could be that, no, you actually do have more margin you think. You just don't know because you haven't tracked
or you're right, or you're not aligned. But once you start aligning, that margin comes into view. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tracking really. I mean, the tracking, and it's so easy today with being able to connect your bank. But I was always so surprised how I was able to find a little bit more money just by paying attention to where money was going.
Yeah.
So,
and even if and we talked about this in the last episode, even if all you're doing is tracking certain, you really get a lot of insight just from that.
Yes.
And then if you take it a step further and you start being more intentional with your spending, and you actually make the margin,
Yes, exactly. It's is this the third time I've been to Dunkin' Donuts this week? Maybe I should reevaluate. Do I really need to be doing
That's such a classic, New England example, Erin. I love it.
Well, I am in New England, so. But, I was thinking about this, and I think that there are a couple of big things that stop people from thinking big. And so I thought maybe we could just outline those and then maybe look at a few examples just to kind of to show, because
Absolutely,
I think one of the things is that the way society sets expectations for us about spending, there's just general, you probably don't even realize you're thinking it, but there's just these silent expectations of how we do things with money. And then there's how we talk to ourselves about our money and our spending. That's the second thing. And then I see this all the time where people tend to think in binary terms. I can do this or I can do that. But that's black and white decisions in a color world. The world is full of color, and there's lots of ways to go about things that don't necessarily fit into the black and white, framework, so to speak. So the way I think about it is that's the classic example I can think of is buying a car with cash, which, like you said, I couldn't even imagine it, 18 years ago, right? What society says, what I remember the messaging being back at that time was everybody has a car payment.
Yeah, and you'll always have a car payment.
You'll always have a car payment, and only rich people can pay cash for a car, right? That's what society says. And so then what do we say to ourselves? We say, I can't pay cash for a car. That's crazy. I just have to pay off the car I'm driving right now. There's no way. And, but so that's the black and white. Since I can't pay cash, I'm going to have to carry a payment. But the world is in color. So let's say that my car payment is $400. Okay, I do think the car is tricky, right? Because how do you make a $400 car payment while you're also trying to save $400 for another? That's hard.
Yep.
I get that.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe there's only like a few years left on the payment. So maybe you could save $200 a month toward the next car. And that would give you like over $7,000 by the end of 3 years. And then you'd have a pretty decent down payment on the next one. And then maybe the next time you could take a 3-year loan instead of a 5-year loan. And you just I didn't get to paying cash for a car immediately. It took it took a couple of cars to turn that completely around, right? Or maybe if your car payment's $400 and you can find an extra $200, you pay off this car quicker. And then once you can start saving, you're saving $600. And so that's how you do it. You just slowly turn it around. And if you stop thinking in binary terms, there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, I love that. Because you could say, well, I'm always going to have a car payment, so I'm going to get...
Then you always will.
Yeah, you always will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you say you don't have a strategy for maybe like the third car from now will be paid in cash instead of the next car, right?
Yeah.
And you just reduce it as you go. And so long as you save a little bit, you can make it happen. Exactly.
It's just little turns of the needle, like, so to speak. I remember one car, like I didn't have quite enough, and I could have if I wiped everything out, but I didn't want to do that. So I took a loan, and the smallest loan they would give me was 3 years, but I paid it off in less than a year. I just wanted to hold on to some cash, like, so I just slowly, I think that was the one before I paid cash for this last car. So right now, I'll just share my numbers. Like right now I have $13,000 saved for my next car, and I hope to buy that car. I'm hoping this car lasts another 3 years. So what if I had to buy one today? You can't buy a new car for $13,000. But I also have like, not even close, but I also have like $1,000 in car repairs. So that would give me like $14,000. Maybe if I bought a 2-year-old car, maybe I could only carry a payment for a year, right? Like, because I've got that money, I've got more options than if I had no money. If I had no money saved for the next car, then I would definitely be picking up a payment if the car died today. But it will be a smaller payment. It won't be as long of a payment. It'll be a lower payment. Like, there's all kinds of options I've built in for myself because I'm slowly working on that. Because I said, I can save more for the next... I think the first thing I had to say with the car was, I can save for a car while I'm driving this car. And I think that sometimes people just move from payment to payment. But as soon as I opened up just a little bit and said, no, I can start saving for the next car while I'm driving this car, then the doors start opening a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you can always shoot for a smaller goal of the ultimate goal. I remember we paid cash for a really old minivan, and we paid like $2,000, maybe just a little bit over. And of course, this does not translate to 2024. But all those years ago,
just triple all the numbers.
Yeah, pretty much. It got us a vehicle, and that vehicle worked for 3 or 4 years. Yes, we had some repairs on it, but we bought it in cash, and I remember how amazing that felt. And I was like, okay, well, it was possible for this vehicle. I think it could be possible for a step up. And then it was 10 or 15 years later. Yeah, we kept opening things up, opportunities. And
you kept unlocking.
For us, really, I mean, even though we bought that in cash, I was still looking, at a brand new vehicle or at a newer vehicle. That felt really far out of reach, but we were paying off our debt. Once that debt was paid off and we had this extra cash flow, I was like, now some of these things I thought were impossible, they're a lot more possible than I thought.
Yeah, as YNAB helps you solve the problems, once you're clear of a lot of the debt and the problems that you were having, more opportunities definitely open up for sure. Yeah. I think the other one is the paying off the mortgage early. Like, got to take a 30-year mortgage. That's what society says. Everybody carries a mortgage. It's got to be 30 years. What we say to ourselves, I can't pay off a mortgage early. That's too big. I owe hundreds of thousands. That's no way, right? So the black and white is it's 30 or nothing. But maybe you could add 50 to the payment. And then maybe 30 becomes 28. And then maybe 5 years later, you add another 50. And now it's down to 26 and you pay. That's still better, right? Yep. You still knocked it out early. So that's what I say. Don't dream in black and white, dream in color, And lots of options.
Some of these deals, I guess, are really intentionally created. Like there's systems created to profit, certain people. And so you can recognize that and say like the 3-year car loan.
Such
for example,
a good point, Ben.
You know, like you said, I only need a year car loan. They're like, well, 3 is the minimum because they want more interest, right?
That's
and
right.
You can, and you could be like, okay, well, I don't have power over this, but I can take it. And then I can still pay it like I'm going to pay it off in a year, and it's a year, So
when they told me that, my next question was, can I pay it off early without any penalties?
Oh,
and they were like, yes. Then I'm like, it doesn't even.
They're like, well, but I do think that a lot of people might take that and be like, or they might even take it because they will have a lower monthly payment and that's what they want, and just pay it off in 3 years, even though they could totally, maybe even comfortably pay it off in a year.
Yeah.
But they just kind of go along with whatever the minimum payment is, and it's profiting somebody else. And it's not really what's in your best interest,
Right.
So,
and I think too, as the size of the big things gets bigger, your confidence grows exponentially.
Yes.
Like you start to feel like, I can throw it at me. I can handle it. I know what to do now. It's really like decision making. That's what you're just getting better and better at decision making and prioritizing, Yeah. But I think that the other thing about this, we're talking about paying for these big things with cash, is like, what cash actually buys is not the thing. Cash buys you options.
Yeah.
If I had no cash set aside right now for another car, my options would be don't buy a car or take out a payment. Those are my only options.
Yeah.
But because I have something, cash is giving me options. And that's just a really much better position to be in, I think. So, yeah.
I have a category in YNAB called options. That's like my savings category.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but sometimes you have the cash and you saved for the thing, but you might not buy the thing. But the time comes and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy this. I think I want to hold on to the cash. Mm-hmm. And you might be feeling like, oh, I'm just hoarding cash. No, you're hoarding options.
Right.
I thought I wanted this thing. I saved for it. Now the moment has come. Oh, I don't know if I want this thing. I'm looking at this big pile of money, and maybe this other thing has become more important. I just want to control my options.
Yeah.
That's why people hold on to money. That's the real reason to do it.
Absolutely.
Right?
So. There's a classic example I give a lot, talking about a chainsaw that I wanted to buy because I have a lot of trees and some of them fall, and I wanted to come up for firewood.
You're braver than I am, Ben.
Or they fall on my. Yeah, using a chainsaw is really fun, and also, but you need to have a lot of respect for it. You know what I mean? But I wanted to get like a $200 chainsaw, and I was like, and I created a category for it, but I just wasn't putting any money toward it,
Yeah.
And what I finally realized was, well, one, I didn't really want it that bad, for one thing. And then I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and he was like, oh, well, it's not just a chainsaw. Like you gotta buy some chaps that you put over your legs so you don't cut your leg off, and you gotta have ear protection, and you gotta have a helmet because you're gonna I didn't even think about all this stuff, which I'm really glad I talked to my friend because I probably would have chopped my leg off. And I was like, oh, it's even more expensive, And he's like, well, you have a really nice leaf blower, and I need a leaf blower. And I have a chainsaw that's really good, and I have all that stuff. So what if you let me use your leaf blower whenever you want? I'll let you use my chainsaw whenever you want, right? And that's what I did. We've done that for years.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
if I had gone to Home Depot, I could have financed it. Like I could have just gotten that chainsaw right now, but I would have regretted it. And so I think sometimes so the point of the story is if you take your time to save for something, first you're going to see if you even really want it.
That's true.
Sometimes
That's so true.
Sometimes you want something just like a split second, and if you can go finance it, you might just do it right away. And the stores are happy to do that. But if you just take the time to save, see if you want it, for one thing, see if it attracts money, and then see if there's other options, like other ways to get what you want.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny you talk about trees because we had a lot of storms here in the spring, and there were a ton. I own on 5 acres, and there were a ton of trees down. And I do not want to use a chainsaw. It's a terrible idea for me to hold a chainsaw. And
it's pretty fun, but you got to.
But I had money in home maintenance, and I happily paid a kid in town to come over and clean up all my trees. And it was
nice.
I was so happy to hand him money and not have to. I had options because I had cash.
Exactly.
Without options, I guess those trees were sort of laid around, falling all over my property. Like if I did, so yeah.
I realized how much I love options when we sold our house. We took out some of that equity as cash for things to do on the new house. So this was a big pile of money that I had not earned. So it was from the house, but I was like, ooh, I like how this feels. Like I just laid out all these different options. Christy and I were talking, and I felt myself a little reluctant to actually move forward with a home project because I'm like, I like this pile of money. I like being able to do all these different things potentially. So that made me want to even, once we started spending that money, start saving our actual paychecks a little bit more to increase the number of options.
Oh, neat. Yeah. Options. Good. It's funny, like we're talking about paying for things in cash, but this makes me think of another option that might help my mom. My mom took out a HELOC recently.
Right.
To get the house painted, to get some trees down in the backyard. And that was a big thing. To take out the HELOC. Like that was a big decision, you know what I mean? But don't regret it at all because we weighed what that would do for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Like some people might just say like, oh, that's a non-starter, but like in that situation, it made a lot of sense,
it made perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say like, there's like, because I have cash for my emergency fund, I have cash set aside for a car. I've started saving what I'm calling my retirement buffer. I'd love to, when I retire 4 or 5 years from now, I'd love to have like a big chunk of my expenses for a year maybe covered. But one thing that I'm not saving for right now that I probably should be, this is confessions here, is a new heating system. Okay. It's pretty old. And every year I have the guys come out and clean it from the heating oil company. And I'll say, what do you guys think? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, we can keep replacing bits on it. It's fine. You're okay. But I know that if it died, if it really took a hard death, it's like $12,000 to $15,000 to replace a heating system. Wow. But I don't feel like I want to put money toward that right now. And I'm not worried because I've got margin in lots of places. It's just not this is like, might I have to borrow? Maybe, but I feel like my credit's really good. I've got a good cash down payment probably. And I'm confident that I would know how to solve that when the time comes, when it happens, So
I think Ben took the same approach with his refrigerator, right? I'm not going to put any money aside for it. I've got these other options.
Such a saga. Every time I open that fridge, though, I'm just like delighted.
Oh, really? Yeah, see,
well, because you don't have to bend over. That's the main thing. I mean, it's one of those fridges where the freezer's in the bottom and it has like French doors that open. It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I'm not a big fan of the freezer on the bottom. I'm kind of a classic.
I like it because like, why is it on the top? Like, I never open the freezer. I want to build my whole goal in life is just not to bend over too much. So. That's really what I'm all about.
Well, then you have succeeded, Ben.
I don't know. I had a million kids, so I'm bending over a lot. But
I was thinking back to when I started, and I don't know about you guys, but like if I had to make a big decision about a big chunk of money, like whenever I did have to take out a car payment, or if I'd had to replace something big on the house, like those kind of things completely overwhelmed me. Like here I am confidently saying, well, if the heating system dies, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what I'm going to do. But back then it was like my brain went into crisis mode and I didn't really understand why until I was thinking about this. And I realized now it's because I had no practice making those kind of big decisions in a healthy way. Right. So like for me in the beginning, I wanted 3 things. When I got YNAB, I was fired up. I'm going to pay off this credit card. I'm going to save up $1,000 emergency fund, and I'm going to get a month ahead. I was totally overwhelmed trying to figure out which of those things should I do? It's like there was so much mental overhead and struggle, but I got better by making little decisions. And what you're really doing is you're building up spending decision muscle. This is how I think about it. So every time you're like, should I put that last $17 here? Or, I'm short 35. Like, where can I move that from? You're building muscle. It's like from the Karate Kid where he's like, wax on.
Yes.
It's a really old movie, right? But like, and he's like, why are you making me do this? Because you're getting stronger. You're practicing. You're building a practice.
And becomes so automatic too. That was the other thing. Like he punched him and he punched him and he like blocked it. He's like,
oh man, I love that movie.
That's such a great movie.
I think I'll rewatch that movie. That's such a good one.
Such a good analogy though. It's so true.
But it is, and that's the thing is you get better. And so for any of you that are like in the land of like, oh my gosh, Erin, I'm nowhere near thinking about paying cash for a car. wax on, wax off. Like, what can you do? All those little decisions are going to make you stronger. First it's 17, then it's 35, then it's $100 decision and you're not freaking out about that one. And then it's $500 and you're feeling good about that. And that's what spending intentionally does for you. It's a practice. And you just focus on all those little spending decisions so that gets you in really good shape when the big ones come, because you've got more confidence, you have better awareness of your spending, and you know what's really important to you. And I just think that when considered as a practice, spending becomes just bigger and more thoughtful. It's more than just the moment you buy the thing, right? It's preparing for the thing, weighing the thing against other things. What are my needs? What are my priorities? And then you get to enjoy the thing. And that's the best end result of it. So for anybody who's in the early stages, just keep practicing those little decisions and know that you might not feel like you're getting stronger. You might not feel, but then something will happen and you'll be like, wait, I've got this. And that's how you know you were building muscle. I don't know if that analogy makes sense to anybody.
You're not just building up like cash reserves or saving for true expenses. You're building up skills and confidence,
Skills and confidence. And I think I got to know myself better. I think I got to know myself better. Like, I knew what was important.
Yeah.
Where maybe I thought I knew it was important before, but once the rubber met the road, I'm like, no, wait, no, I don't want money. I want that money over here.
Yeah.
And that's what being able to make trade-offs really does for you.
Like, you're like, this needs my attention and this needs energy and focus. And then this just doesn't. And I don't need to worry about it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, like, one of the big things for me was paying off the card. Like, that was a big thing. It isn't about paying cash for a car, but paying off that credit card debt. It took me 3 years.
Right.
It was a big thing. You know what I mean? So just be mindful of, be mindful of what those big things are. If people just walk away today believing like, or just thinking about like, what have I believed about myself? What have I believed that I'm capable of? And how can I expand that version of myself a little bit? Then I think that's we're trending in the right direction. I just, you can do more than you think you can do. I could do more than I thought I could do. Right. And it just was just this practice of intentionally spending, making decisions, exercising that muscle.
So to sum up that part, don't just accept what society says, for one thing.
Be a mover and shaker.
And then like have more confidence, like have confidence based on all the work that you're doing of focusing and making these decisions, and have confidence in yourself that you can do hard things, and you prove it to yourself by doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the black and white decisions too, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I was thinking back to like, just when you were talking right there, Ben, like the very first house I bought, I did all of course, when you buy a house the first time, I think it's so scary.
Yeah, it is.
So terrifying. And we did an inspection like a week before the closing, and the broker and I went down into the cellar, and the water heater was like on its last dying breath. Like she's like, oh, this isn't going to make it another week. And I was like, I was freaking out. I was freaking out because I had no margin. I had no practice making this kind of, and I was like, I'm like, how much will a new water heater cost? And she's like, probably around $600. I'm like, I don't have an extra $600, right? And it was so overwhelming. I had no practice solving problems like that. And she managed to, they had to deal with it because they couldn't sell a house without a working water heater. So they ended up getting it. They ended up resolving it. But like, I was in a serious, like, I don't know how to fix these things. I don't know how to do this with money. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah.
And now it'd be like, well, it's like the tree guy. Well, I've got a bunch of trees down in the yard and I shouldn't use a chainsaw. So let me find someone to come out here and fix,
And part of that is you have cash, more cash.
Part of it is the cash, for sure.
And part of it is you have the confidence,
Yes, it's both. Even if I didn't have cash now for something like that, I would still have confidence that I would know how to approach it.
Totally. Yeah.
And I would know how to, I'm going to have to do a loan. So what's the best way to do that? All right, well, let me check up. I would know what to do. I just was so inexperienced, not just in the world of managing this kind of stuff, but just inexperienced with myself managing this stuff. Like, who am I as the person managing all? I didn't know. Like, now I do. Now I feel really dialed in. I know what I can do and what I can't do.
Yeah, we hear this all the time from the YNAB community, is how these YNAB skills and confidence bleed over into other areas of life.
Right.
It gave me confidence to ask for a raise at work, or I knew how to negotiate, or I had more confidence in how to negotiate something. And that's really cool to hear.
It's so cool. I've heard people say, I decided when I saw how much I was spending on cigarettes, I decided to quit.
Yeah.
I decided to really, we've seen stuff like that where people have improved their physical health too. So because it's not really spending money, you're really spending your life.
Right.
That's what it is. It's just a reflection of you back.
And you're becoming more of who you are, and
it's just a better version of yourself.
It's just growing up. But like, I think somebody needs to hear too, like if they have like that $600 water heater and it's really freaking them out, like it's going to get easier. Like it's not going to be so scary forever.
It gets better. Yeah, it does.
Especially if you're using YNAB. So.
And I just want people to like the joy of having things under control has left me so many more options for things I can do with my money. And I want people to experience more than paying their car registration. I used to get so excited when those big bills would come and I'm like, yay, I paid the car registration. Dream bigger. Like that's not the best thing. Like there's more things. Like one of my dreams, like when I retire, is to through hike the Appalachian Trail. That's probably going to cost 10,000 plus. I don't know, but I'm confident that when the time comes, I'll fund it. Like I know what to do. I practiced for this. I'm ready. So I want people to dream a little bigger. So
that's great.
That's it. That's the end of my speech. So thank you for letting me come on and rant about it.
I love it. I think there's a lot of people that need to hear this. And like you can do hard things. You can
do hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're fun things eventually. When you start to do them, they start to feel less like hard things and like fun puzzles to solve. How am I going to get this?
They become the hard things become fun things, and you can dream bigger. And maybe it's not like maybe it freaks you out a little to go too big, but like Ernie was saying earlier, just like these incremental, just expand yourself in the world little by little, and you'll wake up in 5 years and be like, oh my gosh, I'm a different person.
Look what I've accomplished.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. Well, should we do some
Thank you
YNAB
guys.
wins?
Ooh,
let's do them. Let's do 3 of them today. We'll each take one.
All right.
All right, I have an email from, all we got was G, so we're going to call him G. Okay. And this person said, I had been using YNAB for years before I binged all of your episodes last fall and began to actually use YNAB correctly for the first time. It has absolutely changed my life. Wow. I have been able to increase my net worth and savings substantially since using YNAB correctly. The savings and increased net worth are a win, but my real win is the newfound peace and security is provided for me. I had no idea how much stress it added to my life, feeling reactive to finances and expenses instead of proactive. By using YNAB, I now know that even if we lost our jobs in the current job market, we would have a runway to find a new one, and allowed us to bump up our timeline to hopefully grow our family. Sorry, I lost that.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
Grow our family. Wow. Like you said, it's not really about money. It's about, doing things like that, right?
Yeah,
like being able to grow your family.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's a big thing.
Having more peace. And I really liked what they said about not being reactive, because they have a little more space. That's huge. I love that.
Reactive is a total like fight or flight, kind of thing. Yeah, for sure.
You can do big things. There you go.
Absolutely. All right. I have Scott who also emailed in. And Scott says, I accidentally dropped one of my wife's collectible Josh Agel mugs. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Scott. I was lucky enough to find a replacement online within a few weeks of, and he's got this in quotes, I love this, within a few weeks of the incident. But it was a bit pricey and it was close to the end of the month. No problem, though. I have a household category just for small emergencies like this. The mug has been replaced and all is right in my house again. Thanks, YNAB. I love that.
I love that. That's just like a little thing in life, and it just makes me.
Actually, it seems like kind of a big thing in the household.
Something like that would have plagued me. It would have plagued me for weeks and weeks and weeks.
That's awesome, Scott. I love hearing that.
My win comes from Austin. Austin also emailed in. I've been a YNAB user for 3 months now. Before YNAB, I couldn't ever figure out how to save for semi-large items. With YNAB, I was able to save up for my daughter's second car seat. Why can't infant car seats become toddler ones yet? I get it.
Yeah, that is the thing.
We were only
they can become like booster seats now, but you can't go from infant to toddler. Yeah, that's true.
Car seats. Okay.
You're just like, I'm out of that world.
One of my greatest days was when we completed that phase.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Okay, YNAB win, Austin. We were only halfway there when my wife told me about a sale they were having, 50% off. We learned in YNAB that if we don't have the cash, we don't buy. Well, the deal was so good that we actually already had the cash. We bought the car seat and a seat protector for the car and had 26 cents left in that category.
I love that.
Had it not been for YNAB, our way of thinking about money never would have changed. Our money is already 26 days old, and I'm on track for it to be 30 days old by the end of February. Thank you, tax refund. Thank you, Austin, for sharing that incredible win. And like we've been talking about, and I've said this before, we don't hand select these wins to go with the episode. This just kind of fell in line.
They just always do, because everything connects to everything else. It's all the same thing.
But yeah, the options.
No, he's talking about options.
Yeah.
He's talking about options.
And that
cash gave him options.
That learned skill, that confidence of being able to save for those semi-larger things, and how that just keeps snowballing over time. Love it.
100%. Love that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, if you have a YNAB win, you can write it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or if you want to send us an email at budgetnerds@ynab.com.
Erin, thanks again so much for being on the show. Always feel free to invite yourself back. You are always welcome.
Oh, I will. I always love talking about this stuff with you guys. So I'm sure we'll talk again.
And if you have comments, questions for any of us, you've got the chat or you've got the YouTube comment section. And then otherwise, email us budgetnerds@ynab.com. Until next time, happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.
Happy YNABing.